And welcome back, everyone, to another Who Would Win, the actual Who Would Win for the day. And from Samantha Blake, a long ago viewer, who it's been a long time since I've gotten all the way through the book to get back to Samantha Blake. We have who would win in a fight? Knull, the symbiote god, versus Kratos, the god killer. This is interesting. Because if you look at like some of the expanded lore, Kratos is a lot stronger as peak than the games kind of make it out to seem. He went toe-to-toe with Zeus, and allegedly their fight was like literally shaking the heavens and the universe and all that. If you give him all his weapons, he's got, oh god, I can't even remember. He's got like the soul reaping scythe from Hades. He's got fire arrows. He can fly thanks to Icarus's wings. Hercules is, I can't even remember every single weapon he has. Also had the Leviathan axe and the more recent ones. Obviously his blades of, the blades of, what were they called? The blades of fury or blades of eternity? No, I actually can't remember what his blades are called. What are his blades called again? But regardless, Chaos, the Blades of Chaos, that's what it was. The Blades of Chaos, which are great weapons. He's physically very powerful. Spartan Rage, and there's many. He's beaten like literally the incarnation. I think what was it, a Fury, and it took the form of a bear or something like that. He's got a lot of outlier feats that I'm sure they're gonna go into when he fights Asura in Death Battle. Which, fun fact, by the way, if no one knew, Death Battle will be back not next week, but the following week. They just dropped, I think, on Sunday their little preview episode for Omni-Man, and out next week they're going to do the Bardock one, and then the following week is when they're coming back. So, yeah, Death Battle's back, baby, so get ready to see those reactions again. And look, I'm simplifying Kratos at the moment, but I'll expand it more in a little bit when we talk about the actual fight. The thing is, though, he is going up against Knull, who isn't just the god of symbiotes. This guy is a legitimate cosmic level threat. He is a multiversal level threat. He has slain celestials who are, cosmic beings of grand power. Even someone like Odin, who with a specialized armor only barely lasted against the celestials for a little bit in a fight. Whereas Knull kind of went on a warpath and killed many of these guys. He is a legitimate monster. Basically, what happened was there's in many incarnations of the universe in the Marvel universe, and when one universe ends, the next begins. An example of a character that represents this is Galactus. Galactus was essentially the last survivor of the previous incarnation of the universe. He then ended up merging with a power source that basically created Galactus, turned him into Galactus. Well, the thing is, in between the collapse of one universe and the birth of a new universe, there is the Nether Void, I believe it's called. The inky primordial blackness where, creation ultimately emerged from. And the one who's basically brought to life in there and rules over that blackness is Knull, that dark primordial void of just evil and darkness and all that. Now, and basically there was like a rule in place that he was called the King in Black. He, you get all this, just please don't come into our realm. Well, eventually he got fed up with that. He started experimenting with the dark primordial ichor of, the darkness, and that's where the symbiotes came from. Specifically, that's where his Necro Sword initially came from. He took a piece of his own shadow, if I remember correctly, using fire and like a hammer. Basically, he forged it into a blade, which is where the symbiote's weakness to fire and sound comes from. The Necroblade, by the by, is effed up levels of powerful on its own because it turned Gore into someone who can literally curb stomp Thor multiple times over before he got beaten. And this is the blade that Knull casually wields. He also created one of the first symbiotes in Grendel, the giant dragon symbiote. This is a guy who literally someone like the Sentry who, by the by, I was seeing like some very dumb posts like, how did the Sentry lose to Knull and all that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, did you read the damn comic? Because the Sentry was actually very easily beaten by Knull and beaten by Knull, and for a very specific reason, because of the Void. Knull literally is the embodiment of darkness itself. He controls darkness itself. And something like the Void, which is pure darkness, he basically ripped Sentry apart by just absorbing that back into him. He can literally control all symbiotes everywhere and coat an entire planet in blackness, doused out any form of light. He's got the ability to manipulate primordial darkness to a T. He's gone toe-to-toe with, he beat the Sentry, gone toe-to-toe with individuals like Thor, Venom, when he's enhanced. Celestials, he's noted for killing multiple Celestials. He does have a couple primary weaknesses, though, particularly large amounts of light. Now, just because you like flash light at him or hit him, like, say, with fire, it's not going to just beat him. He's like, haha, I have a match. No, that's not how that works. But he is significantly weak to something like, say, Storm's lightning can hurt him to a certain degree. Thor's lightning can definitely hurt him. Massive amounts of fire being thrown, say, into a sun would be very dangerous. Would be very painful for him, although he can certainly survive it. Sufficient amounts of light can definitely hurt him, and energy associated with light. But you just basically, apart from light, you can only really beat him just by overpowering him. That's really what it comes down to. Venom only beat him because the Enigma Force merged with Venom, which gave him a God of Light powers, basically. So he basically was given the power specifically designed to stop Knull. And even that didn't permanently kill Knull. Knull's been back several times. Now, Carnage has technically killed Knull, but there's mitigating circumstances of that. Because I think it was all blood. There's another weapon that's not all black, but all blood that Carnage wielded to, like, technically kill him. But yeah, Knull is beastly powerful. So, in a fight with the God's Killers, who wins in a fight? Now, I've done Gore versus Kratos before, and my money was on Gore more so than Kratos. He just has more overall abilities thanks to the Necrosword, and his power is enough that he was contending with Thor and beating him multiple occasions, who is, in many regards, a multiversal level threat at his peak. And Knull can bitch smack Gore around and beat Thor with confidence. He can beat Thor. Thor is still a threat to him, but he can beat Thor. And he's beaten individuals more powerful than Thor, like the Celestials. So, I unfortunately think this is kind of a bigger smackdown in Knull's favor than Kratos. But this is not to say Kratos goes down easy. When I say bigger smackdown, I mean that he should be able to beat him more easily than, say, Gore would beat him. Not that he beat him, but would beat him. And like I say, it's not as one-to-one as you may think. Kratos at his peak scales to someone like Zeus, who is like shaking the universe, the heavens, all that, the very fabric of creation. As well as, when you get to Ragnarok, there are the trees of the branches of the Yggdrasil, World Tree, different realms. So there's definitely multiversal aspects to Kratos at his peak. The problem comes down to, for me, is that I think we've just been, thanks to comics, we've been given a better display of cosmology, would say Marvel, to scale Knull to not slightly, but a higher degree of threat than Kratos. Because this goes back to a conversation I was having in the comments when I did my Obito versus Yamamoto video, when I brought up Kaguya not really being universal. Yes, she's made dimensions, and yes, she could theoretically destroy her own dimension, but the concept of a dimension is different than the concept of a universe. And also, like, the size of a universe. Like, a dimension, and theoretically, a dimension could be as small as my room. A dimension could be as small as literally this, and that could be a separate dimension. And literally, that would be the bounds of that dimension. Whereas a dimension could also be literally the size of an entire plane of existence, like an entire universe. I used using the Yamamoto scaling. We know for a fact that the three main worlds are about the size of the standard universe, because we know that the universe still exists within the human world. So therefore, if they're equal size, they have to exist in the same capacity. Whereas the cosmology of the God of War world, I know it exists. How big is, let's see, how big is the God of War universe? I think that's let's try that. How big is the God of War? How big is really, really big man's kitchen? Really? Correct. We also would have accepted humongous. How big is the God of War cosmology? Let's try cosmology. Not cod. Cosmology. God. Should probably put God of War. Cosmology? Cosmos. Ooh, Cosmos. There we go. Let's see here. How big is the God of War? God of War. Okay, the God of War world is pretty big in size. They already been calculated. This has already been calculated. It means, okay, your phrasing is whatever. I mean, Olympus is 9,000 miles tall. That's a lot. Okay, that's not what I want. I want the cosmology of the damn universe, not the size of Olympus. Okay, let's try this. Cosmology of the God of War world. Okay, universe, underworld. All right, let's see. Okay, here we go. The universe. They talk about the universe and the world. Okay. So how do they describe the universe? I think that's our really big question here, because you also have like other realms like the netherworld, all that, but we're talking about the universe for scaling purposes here. Let's see. The Greek god pantheon emerged from the primordial Uranus. Let's see here. Battle between Uranus. Okay. Also the father of the universe. Great. So we have confirmation that the god of universe being created by especially Uranus states that in the profile. There's also the fact that the world heavens is often is used to refer to the universe. Fair enough. The device called Antikythera mechanism is stated in the description to be used to track the heavens. Unfortunately, this isn't giving me a very good representation of the size of the universe. So unfortunately, I gotta go with the idea that it's basically the same size as our normal reality. Whereas the Marvel universe and a lot of the comic universes are far larger universes compared to our own. So, by that logic, just going universal to universal scaling, even if they were just both universal, Knull's universe is larger, and by that measurement, he would have the better power output. Not that he necessarily threatens the universe per se in power, but because he can fight individuals who do, that means he is... Let me put it this way. Technically speaking, he can threaten the universe with his own power. By all measure, he has that ability. It's just he's usually being hindered in some way to prevent that from happening. But the fact is, he can kill Celestials. He can fight all Father-level characters. Individuals who threaten not just universes, but multiverses. Power-wise, Knull, I think, very much outranks Kratos. But again, with the amount of weaponry Kratos has under his belt, with the amount of battle experience and his godhood at its peak, he would at least put up a very good fight. Maybe not as strong as, say, Marvel's Thor, but a good fight nonetheless. Still, though, I would give this to Knull. Knull, I think, is a different beast compared to something that Kratos would normally have to deal with. But this is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'll see you guys for the next one.